As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection, the process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest, a process which had once favored the noblest traits of man, now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down.
Saying a 30% chance of a 25 basis cut reduction by the end of July and a full 25 by year end. And then you get maybe a little bit of cuts next year. It's a fine tuning. I generally agree with that because inflation is not an issue and we are losing some momentum on the growth number. So yes, it makes sense to me.
This view, though, that was put forth on Friday by
Scott, would you hold on a second? The data was a little better today. I want to call the White House, and that's what they think the Fed ought to do.
The data.
Yeah,
the
Larry.
data
Oh, okay, still 50. Okay, yeah. Never mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of America! President Camacho! Shut up!
Sit your monkey ass down. Chill out. Shit. I know shit's bad right now.
So
Yeah. They're running it out of the White House.
I thought the point of view put forth
Right?
on Friday was
Yes.
was nothing short of stunning in that the economy is doing great. The president says it's the best economy we've ever had. The stock market is, as I said, now 80 points away from a new all-time high. But just in case, we need to immediately cut interest rates by 50 basis points.
President Camacho stood before the world and promised everyone that Joe would solve all their problems. He would not only end the Dust Bowl and heal the economy, but he would cure acne and car sickness as well. And if he didn't, President Camacho made another promise. He would kick Joe's smart balls all the way up to the roof of his smart mouth, and then he would throw his brainy ass back in jail.
What do you make of that?
I'm a little speechless on this one, Scott. And when this first happened, I said that it should be nipped in the bud right now because it's a slippery slope. And where does a slippery slope lead to? It leads to the pit. And now we're sort of like deep in the pit of the White House essentially trying to run Federal Reserve policy.
How did this happen? Evolution does not necessarily reward intelligence. With no natural predators to thin the herd, it began to simply reward those who reproduced the most and left the intelligent to become an endangered species.
Having kids is such an important decision.
We're just waiting for the right time. It's not something you want to rush into, obviously.
No way.
Oh, shit, I'm pregnant again!
Shit! I got too many damn kids. Thought you was on the pill or some shit.
Hell no!
Must have been thinking of Brittany.
Brittany? No, you didn't!
And I think about, well, what is conservatism? Conservatism sort of starts from the idea of things were a certain way before, and before we change them, we should think about why they are the way they are. And there's a reason why we didn't have presidents running, because right now what I'm concerned about is that the market gets confused, that the market hears the president and the White House talking about cutting rates, and they no longer know what animates the Fed and why they're going to do what they're going to do. Look, that may be the right call, but shut up about it.
Has this been a bridge?
There's no way we could have a child now. Not with the market the way it is, no.
No, that just wouldn't make any sense.
Come on over here, bitch! He don't care about you!
Yeah, well, there must be something he likes over here.
You mean nothing to me, baby? Oh, shit. It wasn't me! It wasn't me!
Too far? Have we gone too far in calling for the Fed to make these moves?
No, I mean, the
Do you
Fed,
think it's perfectly okay,
Yes,
Joe,
I do.
for the White House economic advisor to say cut 50
Yes.
basis
Sure.
points now?
Absolutely. I don't.
Well, we finally decided to have children, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it's not going well.
And this is helping.
I'm just saying that before I have in vitro, maybe you should be willing to...
It's always me, right?
Well, it's not my sperm count.
Look, the Fed is not above criticism. In fact, the Fed invited a lot of criticism upon itself. And in confusing markets, Steve, we had this conversation. I mean, Powell did a terrible job communicating late last year, and they fixed it. But
That's my boy!
Cleavon is lucky to be alive. He attempted to jump a jet ski from a lake into a swimming pool and impaled his crotch on an iron gate. But thanks to recent advances in stem cell research and the fine work of Doctors Krinsky and Altshuler, Cleavon should regain full reproductive function.
Get your hands off my junk!
if you look at the change in rates from the trough, we talked about the shadow rate, the Fed has gone significantly. And the yield curve is very flat, and the U.S. is very much a high yielder among the G20. So, yes, rates should be lower.
The irony
That's
of
different, Joe.
the irony of having
It is different, but saying the markets are
It's different from letting the people you appointed to do something in an independent way get there on their own. Is there any doubt that the Fed would have stopped hiking if the president hadn't said one word?
Sure, but I'm saying.
Unfortunately, Trevor passed away from a heart attack while masturbating to produce sperm for artificial insemination. But I have some eggs frozen, so just as soon as the right guy comes along,
And so it went for generations, although few, if any, seemed to notice.